everyone, and welcome to the Fireside Chat for our Chapter 2 arc of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One. I am your host, Erika, and you may know me from the Fireside Chats as well. For those of you who are part of our Fireside on our Patreon, we normally have these discussions just for the pals in the Patreon, but today we are going to be talking about Chapter 2, the Citadel arc, and it's going to be out there for everyone to hear. So come one, come all, and meet my fellow hosts here by the fireside, Aabria Iyengar.
Ahoo-hoo, crackle, crackle. Oh, it's so nice to be on the other side of the veil talking to everybody.
Yes, and what is crackle, crackle?
I don't remember anymore.
Ah, very good. Brennan.
Fire noises.
Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Hoo-hoo, crackle, crackle. You can find these catchphrases and more by the fireside.
That's right, as well as bits that are so deep and twisted and tangled that you're not quite sure if Brennan Lee Mulligan actually had a child.
I didn't know for
Or
so
not.
long.
I still think it's great audio work.
Yeah.
I think it's him and Taylor just going to work.
Oh,
think so,
yeah,
too.
absolutely. And our final member of our podcast.
It's me, Lou Wilson. I'm just here for the birthday celebration. I'm here. And I'll tell you, the minute we're done celebrating, I'm fucking gone. All right?
Yeah, you got to get back on that
On-
jet ski.
Exactly. I've got quests. I've got personal quests that need to be fulfilled and lots of friends to hang out by the fireside. But for this one, you get the real deal, baby.
For those of you who are not normally joining us for the fireside, we will always have a stand-in for Lou Wilson. And though they may sound very similar to our friend, they are in fact other fantastic improvisers, comedians, workers at the Metropolitan
Museum of Art, yes.
Museum of Art. Yes,
My bad. Craig Sumge.
yeah, Craig
Craig's
is
delightful.
or pilots like Dick Goose.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tomahawk was sort of our man on the ground.
Yes, he's a more kind of physical chap.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as
All
the
of these
Dunstan.
incredible fictional men you can find and more.
Fictional.
But
Yeah.
Wow, what did you
Watch
say?
it, dude.
Well, I mean, I say fictional. I mean,
Yeah, what do you mean?
Fiction spinning men.
Story?
fiction
What do you mean?
storytellers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, there's an aisle at the library that says fiction. Is that not the fictional aisle?
Oh, that's sure.
Sit with that for a second. Our lovely audience.
Makes you think.
I'm going to come back to that article. in a
Makes
little while.
you think. So for a lot of Chapter 2, Brennan was absent for for our talkbacks. So some of this one and some of we will actually have a future episode where we ply Brennan with world building questions. But today we are talking about Chapter 2, and I don't know. Do we want to just do a little quick rundown of what happened?
So if you're listening to this episode, you have just concluded Chapter 2, which means you swirled through dreams in Ame's mind as the curse cut from her by the sword Wavebreaker had her realize all of the lost memories of a lifetime of serving as Grandmother Wren's apprentice. You watched her come to within the majesty and wonder of the Citadel, the Irian, the glass tower at the center of the Arulian Desert, and you saw some of Suvi's life as she was granted her name cloak, the Wizard's Sky, appointed to the Tower of the Glove as the apprentice Archmage of the Archmage Silence,
Boyfriends!
and your boyfriend Silver!
Oh, we're calling it? So we
What's
can label it like that?
You're the one that just screamed boyfriend.
Yeah, while he wasn't in the room, like a good girl should.
That's a true. This is a true story. The first time I was referred to as a boyfriend by my now wife was in third person while I was present before we had talked about it.
No!
Respect.
The way God intended.
Respect. Where it's like
Calling shots out here.
100%. But it's so funny because I feel like there's a thing in our society where it's like you have a connection and you downplay it, but every once in a while you have a connection and someone upplays it, where you're like, oh, I hope we're moving in the direction of being partners, and it's like, oh, well, we're taking it slow, no reason to label it, and then you're out in society and someone like, well, this is my boyfriend, and you're like, so out in the light of day, I'm good enough to be a boyfriend, huh? Okay. But yes, Silver.
Love it.
We saw Bear, the strongest man in Silbury, Ursulon, training with the Sword of the Citadel, Steel. And incoming too, so we had the big party in Gavriel where you were reached...
Name cloak ceremony!
The name cloak ceremony, the beautiful name cloak ceremony. And then being reached out to by ice fairies with no genitalia or lower GI tracts.
You turned Taylor into a fucking transformer. He became a Decepticon. And
you may have heard a hacking laugh from Taylor Moore, our incredible producer and sound designer in the other room. We are at production camp recording this right now. The fairies, the ice fairies, told of a conclave of the Coven of Elders that would befall in several days' time, that Ame needed to get to. At the North Pole, the Palace of Indri, the Witch of Wind and Stars. And after that, Ame did a speed run of Grandmother Wren's old allies within the Citadel. You went to the Kasov collection, a terrifying place where conjurers seal spirits in paintings and portraits on the wall. There, Ursulon detected senses of his sister, found the fiend Obelfind, who spoke to him, tried to get him off the wall. There was a moment of almost violence between Suvi defending her home and Citadel against what she saw as another part of Quest Fever, where her spirit brother Ursulon was charging recklessly off into action. And you cornered Pomeroy, the jailer of the Kasov collection, and a spirit who, it was a nasty customer who revealed that Grandmother Wren had his true name. You met the wizard Sly, Uncle, the head of the Office of Preemptory Catastrophic Deviation, who told you that if Ame was unaccompanied by Suvi to the council, her station would be destroyed and she would die. Who said that if Ursulon didn't get a shield, Suvi and Ame would be dead within the year. Just called a bunch of really heavy shots, scooped a bunch of rubies into his jacket, and teleported away. And then you met Galt and his daughter Hana, who work at Telliver Mill. And you got yourself a shield, which Ursulon painted with a tree using some spirit from his sister Kalaya, who was revealed to you have been disguised for years in the mortal world as the Wizard Stripe. After that, there was a crackdown as there was some treason afoot in the Citadel. Steel returned. Fort Kieran was attacked farther afield by forces from Gauthmai. Steel told you that Yorin, an old friend of your parents, was there. And then the shit really hit the fan as time was of the essence. Ame felt she needed to leave. Steel needed more time. Suvi was caught in the middle. And the party split. Ursulon traveled to find his sister Kalaya as an old woman with her family in Gauthmai after a brief encounter with the man in black. Suvi was comforted by her surrogate mother Steel, who told her that, they will always underestimate us, but there's something we can do, and gave you a sky ship. Yeah. And then Ame awakened the spirits of her cottage in Toma that she had truly inherited, and then stepped on a plate and vanished into the far north as the deck of the Meridian was covered in ice, and Ursulon is still on his way, and that's chapter 2.
That was impressive.
Oh my God. That was really good.
I'm not going to
The problem is we're clapping at the same time, so it feels like
a single clap.
And that's chapter 2.
There it is.
Yeah,
that's been our time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in a month.
This was a arc in which I actually just sent a video to Shannon, our lovely community manager, of all of us starting out the arc, and Brennan saying, okay, well, Arc 1 was, there was a quest, like a pressing plot. This one, I'm just going to let you guys be in this sandbox and we'll pick up wherever it is that you wish to go. If you feel like a couple episodes in, where is Brennan going with this? The answer is, I'm going where you go. You kind of drive this. And considering this was sort of the fun times arc, supposedly, where we get to, but we do get it for one good episode of us in the bloody carnival and churros chowder. And, there was a lot of driving done by Ursulon and Suvi of what we were looking at in the Citadel and what it all looked like and how they felt about it. And that was fun. And we should probably just be back there eating chowder.
Yeah. Why can't we have soup and sexy carnivals more, Brennan?
Yeah, with freaky Tom Hardy.
Ooh, freaky Tom Hardy.
Hey.
With the Dali mustache.
When we get Tom Hardy with a Dolly mustache and a top hat, and first of all, let me be very clear. Lou Wilson is why we have giant clams full of amazing stew.
Yeah, that was so good.
That was so good.
Take me back. Can't even eat seafood.
That is the thing I forgot is true.
Hey, this is a fantasy, all right?
Yeah, this is your power fantasy.
We're living a fantasy where my characters can eat all the seafood they want.
I just need you to know that the idea of a risotto slow cooked inside of a massive clam is like it's a perfect. I just want it so bad. Cracking it open, the steam, the broth, the rich fatty broth,
and maybe a pearl.
Maybe a pearl.
Maybe a pearl.
Maybe one day I'll make it. I see it very clearly in my mind. I could create it. I know that I could, and I know I have the skills to do it, and I just have to buy the giant clam from Pottery Barn. And when I do, I will be complete.
Unbelievable.
In the notes for this episode is going to be a little link. We're just going to have a little registry.
Yeah, if anyone wants to help me, if anyone wants to buy me a giant clam, I need 2 halves.
I feel like, I don't know, one of we've talked about this before, but one of my favorite parts of fantasy books and fantasy movies was the food.
Yeah.
It's the Japanese food in Miyazaki and the right.
Yeah, so good.
And the
all the little feasts in Redwall.
Yeah, those are the candied chestnuts, which I recently had.
Chestnuts are fucking disgusting. They're so gross. I don't like them at all. A roasted chestnut, awful. The thought of a roasted chestnut, my favorite thing.
Oh my God. No, but the candied chestnuts where they're like soaked in sugar like for days on end. And
you guys
stuff.
can't
And
see
then
Abria's face, but
moist-
there is no winning.
I love a good moist chestnut.
That sounds tough. That honestly.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound delicious?
I was on a little hill by myself. And then you said that the way you said that, and then they joined me.
That sounds like something Tim Curry would suggestively call you. Well, aren't you just a moist little chestnut?
Would.
And that got me back. Oh my God, would.
You would.
Yeah. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Wow, I brought up Tim Curry, and you both straight up blue screened. I watched fucking pinwheels form on Aabria and Erika's face in that moment.
Listen, we've
Do you
all
know how
got
often
our
that happens
things.
while we're recording this? We're like, what was that NPC like? Hold on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Subi does something bitchy. I don't know. I'm in my mind palace.
I'm
How big is the donk on this one, Brian?
Speaking of
Roll
which,
for cheeks.
Roll for cakes.
Come on, Brennan. Come on, Brennan. Bring us back.
Speaking of which, wait, so there actually is a donk. There's a donk.
There is.
Of course.
Yes. This
Per
one,
every arc talk back, we gotta talk dog.
this one comes from Ben Fogel. Ben, you are the way, the truth, the light. Thank you for keeping us honest on the podcast. Ben asks, I just had so much Thai food. Okay. That's not what Ben asks. That's a statement from me. Ben asks, who has the most bodacious badonkadonk in the Citadel besides, of course, Pomeroy? And
Wait, no.
A spider body, right?
Spider Body, he got a big ol' ass full of silk.
Exactly.
Another Taylor laugh.
You say that like it. You said it like it was a little sexual too, which really threw me off.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you don't ever see a spider and just sort of rub your hands together? You know? And
Damn, girl.
I knew Brennan was a monster fucker.
Look
like
all
us.
that.
what that abdomen do?
What has this podcast become?
I don't know,
This
man.
is for a completely. We're penetrating a new audience right now.
Penetrating. Hello.
Yeah,
Sheila.
I mean, but like,
Sheila.
Sheila. What did she do? Sheila.
Sheila.
I don't get that reference.
yes, you do. We watched
I really want it. I won't lie. In my head, as we do this, all I can hear is I don't know who the song is by the one that goes "No 7 out in the morning." And
I'm gonna chase you out of her.
there's just something about walking behind a giant spider with your hands pressed together. Damn,
We're
girl.
all rubbing our hands as we
Just crossing a
speak
New
it.
York street, and you're like,
What do I have to do to get my head bitten off by you?
Yeah.
That thorax too.
Incredible.
Oh my
"No
God.
7 out in the morning."
I'm gonna chase you out of her.
And the answer is the wizard Slate.
Ooh, yes.
What?
The wizard's
The most caked up in the Citadel?
It's not silver?
No.
Why
no.
would you not? Okay.
Not the most
Alright.
caked up. No,
Okay.
no.
I could imagine. I feel like Slate does unreal squats.
Yes.
Slate's doing those squats that are like that video where the guy is just like there's a whole crowd of people around them.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like.
Slate gets in the squat machine and does a rep and goes, "That's a little tougher than normal." And someone points out that she didn't unlock the bar.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
just
yeah,
lifted the full apparatus. And the whole thing went up with her. Yeah, for sure.
But let's be clear, if Silver was the most caked up in the Citadel, Suvi has a different interaction with him when he's ready to go. She's like, "I'll burn down. I will kill all of Galthmy myself. You stay in this little fuck room. You wait for me. My little level 2 ass is gonna go end the war real quick.
I think
I'm
you're
gonna
right.
find Yoren and
Slate.
handle this
Yeah,
now."
I want to say, and I always hate to disappoint. I always hate to disappoint, but I think the Wizard Slate is up there if the measure for Bodacious Badonk is purely visual. I think you see the Wizard Slate in the gym and you go, "Wow, impressive. Congratulations."
a specimen.
Yes.
A specimen. But remember, Slate has a permanent stone skin effect. So I don't think that if part of the Badonk experience is the jelly, is the jiggle, I don't think there's a ton of jiggle to
jiggle
Slate.
physics. Yeah.
That's so real.
But we said canonically, we said Mr. Rockamonte.
Yeah,
That's true.
Freaky Tom Hardy. Canonically.
Lothario. I think Lothario's got it going on for sure.
Lothario for sure.
But Slate has like a geode.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's like
stone,
rock
but then
hard,
you
yeah.
bust it open, endless jelly.
Yeah, if you spank Slate, your hand hurts.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
made a
Good,
mistake.
good,
Yes,
good, good,
absolutely.
good, good.
A million %.
That's fair. And how is Mr. Rakamonte doing?
Yeah.
I think did that get described in
What are
chapter
you
2?
about to say, dude?
Well, that's the thing. I thought we talked about him getting run, but I don't remember.
Well,
if I
you
heard
said
part
that
or
they
not.
were dragging people out of the bloody carnival during the
Lothario.
raids.
Yeah, Lothario is implied. I think if we had seen a visual of him, it would have been like bloody face, like crack on the top of the head.
This arc would have gone so
differently.
differently.
Yeah, that's
Wait, no,
such-
that.
If you said they hurt his face, you think the justification machine would have worked with that?
You're like, yeah,
They were gonna wail on the ass, and he said, "Not the ass!" And then
That's how I make some money.
Lothario tries to go through the pain of Lothario tries to go through the justification machine, gets stuck on that ass.
Yeah.
He breaks the whole thing down.
It's like those little like old timey dryers where you like pass
you
a
ring
sheet
it
through and you
through.
ring
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
The machine is thin.
in Suvi's mind, it's just Lothario's butt the gears can't get ground. It's like I can't make
She
this
goes
work.
and kills the wizard silence that night.
That night.
We just see her like flamethrower, full balaclava, just literally being
Radicalized.
Being like, if Lothario's ass isn't a part of the Citadel, then the Citadel falls tonight.
Yeah, you want the radicalization of Suvi? Threaten that fucking ass.
Oh
Oh my god.
So if you're listening to the podcast, you know that what you can do to help the movement is get caked up and make somebody believe.
Yep.
We just come back when we return to the Citadel in what's the name of the town at the bottom?
Haverward.
Yeah,
Haverward.
Haverward. Everyone's just fucking. There's squat racks everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everybody's wearing those shorts, those leggings from Amazon.
Everyone's got hands over the head, tucking the tailbone. Just, do you hear the people singing a song?
Goblet squats are a societal good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, you just made 2 jokes that were specifically for me, I think.
This one's for you, baby. This one's for you.
That's what I'm out here to do. Hey, this one is a very broad one. But I think it's the best one. Oh my God! This one's also from Ben Fogel.
I think we also have done
Ben?
a Ben Fogel one before. We gotta.
Ben, what are you doing out here,
Crazy.
man?
We have a spreadsheet with thousands of questions.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Thank you.
And we happened to alight on 2.
And if you're wondering how to submit questions for these talkbacks, they are submitted over on the Fireside, which is our name for our Patreon. And a huge thank you to all of our incredible patrons over on Patreon who enable us to be able to make this show and share it with the world. And we are so deeply and profoundly grateful. What a tone to slip into after talking about butts for 15 minutes. But this is a very broad one from Ben Fogel. Thank you, Ben. Which is just a nice one to sort of kick off with after the badonk discussion. Which is just, what was your favorite moment from this chapter, from this arc? Like favorite NPC, favorite choice, like character made. I definitely have. I feel like mine. I definitely have mine picked out for the 3 of you from this one, but I'm just interested what your favorite moments from the chapter were.
Mine's absolutely the exit. There's something inside of all the things that aren't said but are very clear, like within the nature of the story and the amount of trust that goes into, we're gonna make some moves that maybe you wouldn't make at a table or telling a story where you're like, the party stays together and we all do the next thing together. But like, there was a moment where I was like, okay, these are the people I love and like most in the world. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
So I just really liked that we were able to pull off the exit from the Citadel the way it happened, because it was just exactly right for where everyone was and where everyone is now. And it feels like it sets up so many cool things.
I would say for me, it's definitely the night out in Haverward. Now that I know what it's called, because I do think there's something to like. Arc 1 is great, and we get to watch these friends who you watch meet in the children's adventure and become friends and become intimate, and then they come back together in Arc 1. But there's a lot of like purpose in Arc 1. There's a lot of like, we got to get this thing back. We get like, and then I got to have quest fever, and I got to save this guy. And there is something to that night out that's like, oh, these are true friends. Like, there was something very fun to getting to play a kind of significant chunk of time as what does it mean for friends to be friends and to share space. And this is why, like, it felt like a fun moment to be like, to dramatize friendship, and specifically the friendship that exists between these 3. I found it to be, I think, like piggybacking off of yours, it gives you the strength to do something bigger, because you get this moment of actively engaging with the intensity of that friendship and knowing that that is real and not just like a label. It is like it is active and it is alive, and it becomes the inspiration to make more dramatic choices. So I think as a player, I think to actively play out the joy between these 3 people in a joyful space was one of the moments where I was like, oh, we're kicking. We're in it. We're in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I was thinking, I was like, is my favorite part the ending and the leaving, or is it when we were out having fun? And so I'm glad that you 2 covered that, because it's exactly what I would have said. I think it just overall, I love how this arc really did it. I love I love our first chapter, and I loved playing it. it felt so like the beginning of a grand adventure. This one really subverts gameplay and us being a game, and it kind of has become like, oh, we're very much telling a story. Like, we do all of the things that are quote unquote wrong for a game, right? You split the party. I mean, we did a little bit of that. I think it felt like us pushing boundaries, like in the beginning and in the first arc of like Ursulon leaving, and then all of us had split for just one episode. But this one of being like, oh, it's party conflict and like difficult, complicated feelings, and it's not over something like, you know, as Aabria had said in the last Talkback episode, a lot of times, you know, in stories, bad communication is just the result of, oh, you should have just said this one thing and everything would be better. But this was conflicting personalities and different duties and like unsaid things unsaid, and just like everything that led to like something that you would truly never be able to do in a home game, right? Like but like we were like, yeah, this is our home game and we wanted to play it like this. So that, and then also the justification of a party being together and why they care so much. Because especially if you're listening to this now, you may not have heard the children's adventure. That gives so much context. You can definitely enjoy The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One without having heard the children's adventure campaign. But it adds so much context to people and to these characters and so much of their backstory. I think that the Citadel arc does that job, like picks up that job for people, especially who haven't listened to the children's adventure. It's like, oh, I see why these people work together and why they're together and like why they love each other, and it gives stakes to whatever happens next, and it gives stakes. Lou's answer of the night out on the town gives context to Aabria's answer of like the leaving and why they are like that and why it matters to us. So that's crazy to me. And as far as playing, I think that the 2 prov that Brennan and I did for Ame's coma flashback was one of the most satisfying things I've ever gotten to do. I was terrified because Brennan said up top, I'm going to throw you some curveballs. We're going to start out and it's just you and me. I was like, cool. Like, no, but like, and just being able to feel like, yeah, I held my own in that, you know, and yeah, like
held your own. My God, I fucking wept my eyes out.
God, yeah.
The thing where you like, it's the darkest we've ever seen Ame get. There's a moment in the beginning of this chapter, the first episode of this chapter, where we hear like Ame, who wrote "Be Kind" and is the witch, and she's got the cottage, and she's helping, and she's got this little fox that she's trying to be like, "Don't you be naughty," kind of thing. And we see her as a teenager going, "I could make them think I was normal," right?
The perfect context setting for every, like, again, it's the setting something up at the beginning that pays off at the end. Like the grab and the beginning of what will mechanically be like Ame's retributive curse gets seeded with the ways in which that could be exploited by Ame's little moment of like, I could make them lightly. Like, there is a sense of great power and the ways in which we watch Grandma Wren like scramble to like, okay, hold up. And it's like, it's just so good. You guys handled that so well. It was everything. I was like, let me just be as far away from the microphone as possible so I can make my tiny noises and no one can hear them. But like, y'all crushed. It was so good.
There's a very interesting, the moment, and especially like the moment where that I was surprised by, because there's a moment where, you know, we talked about this before, but Ame is rebellious. Grandma Wren gets big and goes like, that's not okay. Ame doubles down and goes like, well, I could make, you know, like, and you can feel the shadow lengthening in the room. You can feel how Ame gets to wickedness. There is no witch to whom the door to wickedness is not unlocked. And
what a phrase.
And so there's a like moment where you see it's like, oh, that's how Ame would get there. And I was surprised that Grandma Wren hugged you. It was a weird instinct in my, I was like, oh, you can't now it's something else, and you immediately broke down. It was heartbreaking. The thing of when you said, because she says you miss your friends, don't you? Which is a total zag in the conversation, and you immediately go, to them I was to everybody else I'm just to them I was Ame, and to everybody else I'm just a witch.
Yeah.
And oof.
What a parental figure played by Brennan Lee Mulligan responding to one of us, going like, my friends left me and I feel crazy about it and I acted out a little bit. Parallel.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's like, it was in that moment that I was like, you're going to be such a good dad.
If you have a kid.
If you unclear.
Yes.
What I know, you will be a good father. If you have a kid, unclear.
It's actually, because obviously everything in life you're always studying. When you tell stories for a living, you're trying to study everything in life to come into a greater knowledge of human nature, the world, the relationship between cause and effect and consequence. Because whenever you're making art that's about a story, you're trying to make a map for the world, right? Yeah. A map is useful because it is like an inaccuracy. It's like, it's small. I can hold this in a bag. The map is not the territory. So like its smallness is its usefulness, but you want it to be as faithful as possible. And it's interesting playing those parental characters, and especially as a new dad, there's a really wild.
Wait, so there is a kid.
I will confirm here in this moment.
Wait, hold on.
I am actually.
Let me take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Oh, what a weird breath.
Is that good for you, Taylor?
What?
Did you like that?
Why did you vocalize so much in that breath?
What?
It wasn't even an exhale. You
Dude,
went.
say the nice thing about being a fucking dad, dude. What
No,
the fuck is this?
I'm gonna rush you before I do that.
What?
You went,
Bro!
You went.
What is that?
how
Not
you're
how you
supposed to
guys
breathe.
when you guys are in
You
yoga
should
class
be
and they say
activating your vocal cords when you breathe.
is that not?
I'm gonna tell you, in voiceover for some games and shows, not true.
They want. Well,
They're like, can you breathe but make it a noise?
It's called tennis breath.
Yeah, Brendan. I just tennis breaths. All right.
Listen, this is what a non-vocalized breath should sound like.
Okay, yours sounds like
Brennan's the spirit of the wind or some shit, because
Truly.
I've never done that.
that's like the mountain that they go into in Return of the King. Like when they do the forced perspective thing. That's the.
Okay, that one Aabria does not get that reference because we did in fact not make it to the third one.
We will get to a point in this campaign, I promise you, where you guys have a host of unsolvable problems, and I will give you one army of super ghosts to solve half of them.
Okay.
Right, I'm gonna put that on a card.
Write it down. Write it
I have
down
a card with
somewhere
my
and make
items
him
and-
sign it.
We are an army of super ghosts.
Wait, was that actually?
No,
Okay,
no
okay.
spoilers.
In all fairness, I make that joke a lot, and I think this was the first one where I was like,
This was the first
wait,
one in which we
hold
did
on,
not
hold
watch
on.
that one.
I don't think I
yet.
get that.
Something true about being a dad is that there's something that you bring, a kindness you pay to people in emotional moments in your youth that you learn as you become a more empathetic person is to mirror emotions. We've all had that moment where a friend is upset and you get a little bit upset to be upset with them.
Yeah.
They're like, someone did this fucked up thing, and you're like, that's fucked up. Like you get mad to be mad with them so they're not alone in their anger. And looking at that grandmother Wren scene, there is a part that I have, even having a very, very itty bitty child, that is, you actually have to switch that part of your mind of like, when you are in a parental role, you cannot mirror the emotional turmoil of a child back to them, because you're actually supposed to be the sandbox in which that emotional life is lived. Yeah. And it's really interesting because it's a transition. You go from being like, when I'm in deep community with people, I'm mirroring their emotions back to them to make them feel heard and seen. But now a baby is freaking the fuck out about a diaper, a bottle, whatever. And I can't be like, it is a disaster. You're absolutely right. This is a fucking nightmare. What are we gonna do?
The metric has changed for what it takes to make someone feel safe with their emotions.
Yeah.
When you are with someone you consider a peer or like, you're like, I'm making it safe by saying like, this emotion is safe and I will feel it with you, versus someone that needs to know, like a baby that needs to know that like, I'm protecting you from further damage while you like move through this, and I'll help you move
I will
through it.
say, have you ever cried back at a baby?
It does work. Let me be
so
clear.
funny, and it works.
It does work.
It works.
This is a thing
they
people
will
do?
Stop.
Oh, yeah.
They will stop and just be like, "What
What
is
the fuck
your
are you
deal?"
doing? Yeah. Oh yeah, you can
What is
confuse
happening?
a small
Yeah.
child
Yeah,
Just like-
it's
by giving
so
them their energy
funny.
back to them.
Yes.
Yeah. It is really well.
Tantrums are funny.
That's the best thing too, especially like I have a young nephew, and hold on, Erika has just handed me a little card that says "One Ghost Army," and there is a signature line.
Oh,
Sign it,
get it
dude.
in writing.
Sign it.
Yes, let's go.
Yes, very good, very
We
good.
just give this to you at some point in this in the
Yeah.
campaign, and you just make them appear, right?
1,000,000%. This is truly frightening. Why am I doing this?
I love it.
But it is beautiful.
Oh
and it
no,
is
where
done.
where did little I'm just holding the world's made of gasoline and I'm holding a match, Lee Mulligan.
Yeah.
Ghost Army coming up.
Ghost Army.
But yeah, it's a very real. Erika's taking a picture of
Yeah,
it
put
now.
that in the
It's
Slack
gonna
so
get
we all have
insured
it.
at, like Moody's.
Yeah.
But
It's notarized.
Yeah, the reflecting the emotions back thing is very. So with Grandmother Wren in that moment, I love that. I feel like the moments that really stick out to me. There's so many, but yeah, that moment from Ame in the flashback to Grandmother Wren, the moment of Ursulon's in the Kasov collection.
God.
So intense. And then Suvi's Bring Them to Me are these moments of like ultimate peak, like these strong, difficult emotions. You guys are the fucking best. It's great.
What was your least favorite?
My least favorite. Well, okay, those are my favorite. I think as players, each of you punctuated this chapter with so many incredible moments. Those three are the ones that jump to the top of my head at first, of like a depth of profound performance, like Suvi's monologue about like they never listen, and Ursulon just being like actually saying "shut up," which is just like so intense.
That was
Ursulon's
so good.
Ursulon's so
baby.
chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he says "shut up," it means so much more.
Yes.
When someone who's never cross, who's never like upset, gets upset, it is fucking freaky. It's frightening.
Yeah.
But in terms of favorite moments, I actually do have one, and it's for a thing that had a lot of seriousness and a lot of stakes, especially as things ramped up towards the end. Bathroom full of sausages and
Not gonna
Gabriel,
lie.
just
Yeah.
drunk Ame and Suvi.
Be like, you're so pretty. You're so, I
You're
love
so pretty. You're gonna
you.
be
Oh
such
my
a good
God.
witch.
Oh my God, you're gonna like.
Ursulon with the fox talking about different herbs in the sausages outside,
Yes.
and then
And the fox simulating sex.
Like, put your mouth on my butt.
I'm about to not want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I say that now.
That's a bad thing, I think, at times
Yeah, I know.
that he was describing.
Yeah.
That is a little, I'm like, shut up, Aabria. Like, you gotta keep your head in the game
The
right
whole
now.
thing is that the fox lets the intrusive thoughts win.
yes, truly, it's all interesting.
Perfect.
But that, and then the little the little ice
Ice
fairy
fairy.
with no asshole, like
Not at all.
None at all.
no
God.
genitals. And
good.
like, yeah, that moment felt both so funny and heightened and also so real, because I have been in the club bathroom being like, oh, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful.
good.
Oh my God, I love you.
I think all the time about like making a party and doing it, like running a D&D game of just a group of adventurers that are girls that met in a club bathroom.
Yes.
And that's like how they feel.
Absolutely.
Because I would kill or die for any girl I've met in the
Yeah.
bathroom that feels away.
Oh,
like,
for
You're
sure.
crying and you did your like birthday makeup,
Yeah.
which is a whole other thing. And
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the thing too, is that, you know, the rules, the code says
Yes.
that if you are asked for lip gloss or
Hell
powder
yeah.
or whatever, or like a zip up in the back,
Thank
you
you.
give that.
exactly, like I know it took you 45 minutes to do that cut crease makeup, and
Yes.
some boy is making you cry. I'm gonna snap his neck. Where
Yeah.
is he? Like,
Yeah.
it's just such a fun energy.
It's so great too, because I feel like that is the kind of, like, we're so deep in this world at this point that kind of moment where it's my favorite thing to do when comedy mixes with drama in a way that neither negates the other. Like you look if you look at Star Wars, like that message from Princess Leia could have started playing by accident while someone was in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you would be observing it and go, this is of incredible galactic significance, and my dick is out.
Yeah.
And both would be true at the same time. So to me, that's playing that scene of there's insane it's like it's Suvi's name cloak day. A love interest is outside. Ursulon is here. These fairies, they're in the Citadel. How did they get there? They're talking about some shit that really fucking matters, but they're silly. Ame's drunk. This is a bad time for this. It was like, it's. I just love I sometimes talk about like the Casablanca thing of like that movie has every tone in it. Like it's a
Fucking,
comedy, it's a romance, it's a drama, it's espionage, it's like
Yeah.
all of it, right?
Perfect.
And so moments that get to be 100% comedic and 100% dramatic, and both tracks are running at the same time. You're like mashing them up.
Yeah.
I love that.
And also, the fallout of that, of like Suvi going after Silver and Ame just like eating the Cure Wounds cake.
Yeah.
Like, which is like specifically to prevent like the exact thing that was happening of the drunkenness. But also the quote I have from this is like, I shall bear the news hither that the grove of the well is no longer safe, and that the witch of the world's heart hides by the side of the wizard's sky in a bathroom covered in sausages. That's it.
There it is.
There it is. That's my tone. That's the like.
Yeah.
That's the key I want to be in.
Yep.
You know.
There's something so funny. Like we've talked about it before. Like in improv, when someone just calls out what's happening, and you're like, don't just say what's
Frame it,
happening, because
yeah.
it makes me feel stupid as shit. But yeah, that is what's happening.
That is exactly
that's what we
what's
said. That's
happening.
what we
You
said.
have it's the easiest slam dunk laugh line in the world to just say what's happening.
Yeah.
It's always helpful. It's always actually helpful to be like, so just to clarify, we are all in the bathroom. Like it's always helpful, right?
Yeah, I think that is that is like the perfect sort of encapsulation. That scene is the perfect encapsulation of this arc of like, well, it's all happening and we have our pants down. Like, it's like, and I love just Ursula being outside, being an absolute homie, being like, sorry, you can't go in. People are having sex.
You know, you say what comes to your mind and what you know people won't intrude on.
Yeah.
You say people are having sex in there, nobody's going in there.
Well, that one guy was like, I recognize that Fox's voice.
Well,
I
you
gotta
know.
leave.
The Fox participating was not what I expected. Can't plan for that.
He wanted to help.
He just likes helping.
Is the most helpful.
I'd love to combine these next two questions because I don't think they're related by the askers, but I kind of actually relate them. The first question is from Chase Curtin. Thank you, Chase. Thank you, Chase. Which is it difficult playing characters with positions of power in world at such low levels? And I actually think that kind of combines with another question, which I think is interesting, which is from Charles Hart, which is, while D&D is typically a combat-focused game, Arc 2 had basically no combat. Was this an intentional choice? How do you all feel about a game with less combat? And I actually see these concepts as being related. I'm not sure if everyone like agrees with that off the bat, but I think the idea of the parts of this game that challenge assumed conventions of tabletop. You will have world power when you have character power.
Yeah.
And that character power will be gained through combat, and combat will be plentiful, right? These are all sort of assumptions baked into I would say the culture of the game and not the mechanics of the game. You don't have to fight all the time in the rules of 5e, but it's assumed culturally, even sometimes like not in the text, but in the miasma surrounding there's just sort of an idea that you will be fighting all the time, and that as you level up, you will have a higher station in the world, but it's not explicit. How do you guys feel about that?
My minor pushback on that is like, I think there is something inside the skill checks that the fact that like a lot of your leveling up will increase your ability to have your way, even like in conversation. Like there's a little bit of that too, but that also comes down to the dice, and some of us have had a more fraught experience with efficacy because of how they roll. We're not going to name names, but generally speaking, I do agree, and I'm going to make the rest of my point later, but I want to hear whatever Erika was about to say.
No. I see Lou.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about the efficacy of some of the, our abilities to roll, and for it's some of us are rolling 31s and are just we're not going to name names, but
Yeah, we
some
don't
people,
have to.
We're all the same level, but some of us roll 31s, and
In
some
all
of us
fairness, I
can't
didn't
get
know
above.
we were capable of getting a 31 like on a thing this early.
Well,
and I
if
do have some
you're-
questions about that.
If your sister hung out in the place that you're hanging out, kind of like years before, and left a residual magic around,
I would
you
argue
can
that
kinda
all
coast
of my
on that.
family has hung out in this place that I am at, and I
Damn, and nobody
don't
left.
think
Nobody
no one
left
left me
you
shit.
residual magic.
No,
Shit.
no. Best roll is when I called the cops, and that's
That was
interesting.
It's
That's interesting
so
for me.
funny to me
Yeah.
because nobody has called the cops with more self-awareness and import.
Yeah.
Called their cops.
My
as
cops.
We were
These
saying.
are we were talking
They're
about this
not
earlier. I'm like,
just
I didn't call
cops.
the cops. I called my cops to do a crime
It's
for
true.
me.
Like if you have a house in Beverly Hills and you call the cops, you know that the police.
Yeah.
This is an entire force that has been created to
protect
benefit
my
and protect
interests.
You
Yes.
specifically. I think about the time that they're the crackdowns and Mr. Rockamonti's beautiful face got hurt. But like the gang goes up to an Imperial Guard and says like, hey, what's going on? Or we're concerned. And he's like, it's okay. You don't have to worry. Like, basically, his answer was created to put Suvi at ease.
Pat, little wizard, you're fine, and you're gonna be safe.
Yeah. And it's like,
And it worked.
Oh, good.
Yay, thank you.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yay! I've been coddled.
It's so good. Just like truly your ability throughout this entire arc to make the difficult decisions, the decisions that you would never make in a normal game, but that you would make in a story you're trying to tell, is like with Hannah, her childhood friend.
Let's be
who's an
clear about-
artificer who it's Aabria
didn't know how bad Hannah's life was going to be until we all walked into that room, and I went, well, Suvi also gets to not be aware, because I was like, this is one of my best friends, and it's going to be, hey, Brennan, how bad is this?
Yeah.
Hey, Brennan, how fucking bad is this?
It's also funny to see the reaction. I don't know how I feel about the reaction as someone whose parents I describe it being really hot and bad in there.
Yeah.
But it's one
You
of those,
said she was stuck
Yeah,
in
you
this
said a life-
conversation.
You said a
in
life
this
and a friendship she
conflict.
can't leave.
I did say that. I did say that. But the point is that Hannah and Galt look at their life, and it's one of those things where it's always hard to judge that thing of like, this is a hard fucking job, and they are laboring, and they have to penny pinch and be aware of the budget they've been given by the wizards, and shit is stressful, and it's hot in here, and they don't get to make a lot of calls. But also, if you were to talk to Galt and Hannah, they would be like, well, it's good to have work, because we know people that are doing worse than we're doing. So, you know what I'm saying? It's literally, which is how that goes, right?
sure.
It's very funny, because I've seen some people empathize with Hannah and Galt in that moment, being like, fuck, like I'm trapped in a life and a friendship that I can't get out of, and I empathize with that. And the life is fucking hard. And that's what it is. It's the difference between hard and bad. Because I'll see some people,
life is
I'll see
hard.
like you know, it's like, it's on the one hand, if you see someone say like, I empathize with Hana and Galt, that is a hard fucking life, and there is no room for error in that hot little mill, and I'm so worried for them, and I go, you got it. And then I saw some people try to post the same as that, where they were like, man, if I had to go to work every day, I'd kill myself. You go like,
Whoa.
Oh, you didn't get it. Or like, you know, like, that's not what I'm looking for. It's, you know,
But there is something really fun inside the like headcanon and the things we've talked about. Like, oh man, Hana had to exit the sort of track that like both Hana and Suvi were on. And now Suvi gets to run around and be like, let's go get some chowder. I have to do some like nerd shit for a couple hours. And then everything's on my daddy's tab. And then you meet Hana and you're like, man, when you get off the train a little early, it gets difficult.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
no.
but specifically the fact that because you and Brennan had come up with the character backstory of Suvi, the hair, the you know, like you and Hana had
the Aerith.
played around in the area.
Yeah,
and
the Aerith fuck
the
up.
Aerith fuck up.
Yeah.
And then you were like, this is one of my best friends. And then you, just like Suvi, walked into that mill and was like, hey girl, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm
Hi, I'm the wrong energy. For
Right, the
this.
completely wrong energy. And then like watching you like dig deeper into that, I was
Double
like,
down.
I could never.
Double down.
That's incredible.
Double down.
Double down.
Double down.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to the original question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
You know, hey, if we're gonna shout out Curtis and Charles Hart, is that correct?
or this is from Charles and
Curtis Curtin,
Chase.
Curtin. That's it. Chase and Charles. I think a lot kind of in reference to what you were speaking on, Brennan, about like Ame's level up, and I think there's something to it of like I feel like a lot of built into D&D like leveling up is very much like gaining muscle. It's a lot of like go out there, get hurt, still standing, still strong, go out, get hurt again, still standing, still strong. And I think there's something really kind of in line with the way that we're telling this story that is like Ame levels up when Ame gets to go home and think for a second. And in that, like, the depth of understanding increases. And it's not about, like, the experience that she is growing from is not one in which, like, she came out the other side even when, like, death was at her doorstep, but one in which she just, quite literally had more experience and then had space to kind of download that experience and was able to find new understanding and power through it. And I think that is kind of the mashup between this, like, the lack of combat, but also being these low-level characters is like, well, yeah, the growth is not happening because we go out and survive. It's because we go out and live. And by living and experiencing, we grow.
God
and
damn.
like that is the way we are living in these like power positions. What our positions of power give us is access and the ability to live, and that living bolsters us. So I don't know. I think the way in which we are engaging. Oh, thank you. The way in which we are engaging with experience, I think, is really cool and kind of, I think, like you're saying, within the like schema of D&D, but just not how it's usually engaged with.
So
Yeah.
we have had like truly like until the wee hours conversations about the mechanics of games and telling stories and how our world, the real world, works. And I could talk for days about this and about how I feel like everybody at this table specifically has leveraged the mechanics of systems, multiple systems, because like, you know, as I've said before, I think Aabria and I have played more non-D&D tabletop games than we have played D&D. And that is even with my sort of like years of experience before this with D&D, because like, you know, yes, I think there's the argument a lot of people make in that D&D is spec'd for combat. And I would like to push back on that a little bit by saying that, yes, sort of the idea of power and like higher levels gain with it a general incentive and prowess in combat. However, at the end of the day, I maintain that D&D is one of the best physics engines that we have for world building. It's like, oh, there are different abilities and skills and items and things, and everything has a number attached to it. And so you can tell your story and you can adjust it accordingly, according to these numbers, both letting your story inform the numbers of, like, for instance, us deciding to level us up when we hit certain milestones, or when we, as Lou was saying, go out and live and learn. And we let, especially, you know, in the children's campaign, which was our very fancy session 0, we let the numbers that we were getting and our experiences in the world inform each other in how we built our characters and the story that we ended up telling. Because I think there were aspects of Ame that we said, that I definitely came up with in the character brainstorming part of this, that did not bear out when we started rolling and like specking specifically. Because, like, you know, if you think about it, if we are D&D characters, like, if we start like working out, if I started working out more in real life, my strength score absolutely went up in real life, right? I learned different skills. I put more points into those skills. And I think that there is a relationship between the Dungeons & Dragons mechanics and how we can tell, and how we are telling this story specifically. I love, like, in Bros End, for instance, the you know, that predisposition towards violence that we explored in the system. But in this one, we are showing the sort of versatility of this, because at the end of the day, I don't think any of us have a specific brand we don't have a specific brand loyalty, but this is kind of the way that we are leveraging mechanics in this game to fit our story. We are making it work for us.
Yeah. And I think too, the idea of like making it work for us. And there's a lot of conversations that people much smarter than myself have about the relationship of mechanics to the table, right? Tabletop is this incredible art form, and like it's people like Emily Friedman and other amazing people. Shout out to Dr. Friedman, who talk about this exact thing, about the relationship between mechanics and storytelling, right? I think that the only thing I can offer as someone who maybe is not as academic as other people, but certainly plays games a lot and plays them for story, is sometimes when people will say something like D&D is a combat-oriented game. Like, D&D is a combat-oriented game. It's not for storytelling. It's for combat. The rules are all about combat. My reaction to that would be that observation, and this is a little bit dismissive, and I apologize, but it would sort of be like looking at a stove and being like, this has nothing to do with food. You can't eat metal. Like, this is not, like, clearly this contraption is just for moving gas around and having a clock on it. If it was about food, there'd be some food here. Instead, all of the machinery is just about creating heat, either in this cavity or this other place. But what you should get is a machine that actually is made of food or has food in it, or there's some food. And the reaction I would have to that observation is, I'm going to bring the food. The food is my favorite part. I'm the food machine. I go to the grocery store and get food, and I cook it on this stove. So some of the things that people will say, these mechanics are destiny. Like, because D&D has so many combat mechanics, you are destined to tell combat stories. I fundamentally disagree. Combat is the part I'm the least interested in simulating through improvisational storytelling rules. So I need a game to do that for me while I take care of emotions, relationships, character progression, because that shit is intuitive and I understand it well. I don't intuitively understand how an arrow moves through fictional airspace.
I think too also that people think a lot about, like, when they play D&D, I think the thing that you bring, the food that you bring, is consequences. And this is something we discussed a lot, because in a violent world, a world that is predisposed to violence and where violence can solve a lot of things, there have to be consequences. Otherwise, it is just kind of a free-for-all and can be just a combat-driven game. And also, if you want that to be your game, that's great. You have to decide what system is right for you and what kind of story is right for you. But I will say, it's so easy for me to get a gun in real life. So easy. Like,
Crazy.
I can go out right now, and I don't even know if we have a waiting period. Like, do we have a waiting
You
period?
guys have to know, Erica is waving a gun around
Yeah.
in the studio
Have
right
a
now.
gun. I could shoot somebody right now, right? Also, like, I can, like, most people in the world that I have a problem with, I could definitely take in one-on-one combat, or at least, like, get them while they're asleep. It's so easy. It's
This
so
is what
easy.
Hobbes was writing about.
However, right? However, there are consequences to my actions, and that is the same for D&D. And so I can choose to do the thing that is sort of easy to do to solve my problems, but there will be consequences.
I will say, like, I agree 100%, but I do understand that, like, if you are talking about, like, I'm here to make a meal and what I have is a stove, I think there is something inside the, like, and that is a temptation to make hot food for this meal. So I think that there is something inside of the, like, I'm here with the stove. Well, I got to cook something with the stove. So I do think that, like, the actual thing that is fun to wrestle with when we talk about D&D specifically is the constant temptation as you level up to become more and more of a hammer and see everything as a nail, because the things that you're getting, those early cues for what you can do, are the things that you're like, yeah, I don't want to have to make up how effective you are at killing people. So here's a bunch of, like, simulation mechanics to simulate that. But if that's the first thing I'm looking at every time I get a little stronger in the world, I'm going to get cued, or I'm going to feel
Totally.
a little pressure to do that.
There's absolutely a point in D&D where you can jump out of an airplane and survive.
Yeah.
And
Monks can just not die from
monks
falling
is not
ever.
ever falling. And it's hard when you recognize that to go, like, how do I not factor that into my decision making? Oh, of course, yeah. There's a lot of things that are influenced by the mechanics. And specifically, one of the things, like, if I were going to me, I don't think I would ever. The things that I miss would be like, oh, I wish there were more spells oriented towards social interaction. Or I wish there were more opportunities for skills to these other things.
Yeah,
but I don't
absolutely
go
get
to a
that.
place where I want a game to start providing storytelling decisions
Yes,
to me.
that's
And
that's
Absolutely.
the big one that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And for a lot of systems, they're geared towards story, as we say, which is fantastic, and, like, they might be right for you. Like, but for those of us who, like, we have in our brain this story. Well, we don't have in our brain the story that we want to tell, but we want to improvise things too, and we don't want story proscribed to us.
What's happening in the studio right now? What's happening in the studio right now?
Nothing's happening in the studio right now.
We're taking it to the Lord in prayer. Don't you worry about me, Brennan Lee
all.
Mulligan.
That's-
okay?
yeah, exactly.
We were going to cause a ruckus? Is that what we
Right. Sometimes, you know.
Listen, we've said this on multiple other things too.
The thing is, it's again, like the machine analogy of whether it's a stove or a bicycle or whatever it is, it's just the thing that it depends on what you're bringing to it.
Yeah.
There are lots of people who actually want the experience of a machine or mechanism to help them tell a story, to literally be like, I would actually love if there was part of this machine that provided some food for me. I don't know necessarily what I want to eat tonight, so something that gives me a selection would be great. I think for me, that's not the experience I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And it's a certain degree of when people pitch it to me, this is just the analogy I want to use. If someone were to be like, you know, if I'm like, oh, I love my bicycle, I ride around on it and it does the work of walking, which is hard for me. Someone would be like, you know, instead of a bicycle, I have a machine that also picks where you go. And I would be like, well, that's not the part I have problems with.
Or to go back to the stove analogy, it's like this stove comes with a bunch of food. It's like, well, I don't want that food. I want
your
to
food.
make my own food.
I'm trying to be a
but
chef.
I
Or
wanna-
I'm trying to make a specific kind of meal, you know, like
For
Like
sure.
a bunch of pre-made meal kits and stuff,
makes
which
sense.
actually in real life I go for. I love having my little pre-made meals. But when it comes to storytelling, I think we want as much of a sort of physics simulator in some ways as we can, and then choose what we do with it. But that is definitely, I don't know. I just love that there is a diversity of options available, and it can, like, provide you the tools you need for the story that you want to tell.
And in terms of you guys being low level and having important
Feels
world
cool.
positions, like the Witch of the World's Heart and
Yeah.
the Archmage Apprentice, I think that's a well taken thing about like the skill check thing. That if you are in charge, you should have high skill checks, and the should is really critical there because there's a lot of institutions that have people at the top that don't have great skill checks.
Dog, truly, like I think about that all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, she's the Archmage Apprentice, but she's like a level 2 wizard, and her mom's here, and her mom tells her what to do all the time. Like I was just like, yeah, whatever. Kamala Harris can't fight her way out of a wet paper bag. Like we're not worried about that part. Like Stevie's not good at punches yet, and that's not the point. Like
Right?
Kamala Harris just doing a fucking just swinging.
yeah,
At a ribbon cutting somewhere in DC.
Got
Look out!
him, got
Meteor swarm!
Oh my God, things would have been so much better.
Joe.
Oh my God. Yeah, I do think about it. That's and it is true to life in that like oftentimes larger than life things happen to you.
Yeah.
Or you move through the world in such a way where you have a lot of like truly
just have a
every
lot.
single person has so much responsibility in life. Like they have the power of life and death, whether it's over themselves or people around them or a whole company of people or something.
Yeah.
But it's you have to take what you have. And how do you leverage that? Like, what are your clever ways of problem solving that aren't buying a gun, I guess,
Yeah.
to continue that horrifying
don't
analogy?
have to
Back,
keep doing
bring it
it.
back.
Bring
Put
it
the gun away, Erika.
Hey,
put it
listen,
away.
now
I'm
I have
desensitized to it.
See,
I don't
this is
even
good
notice it
trigger
anymore.
discipline. My finger is not on the trigger. You gotta keep it not on the trigger.
I have a
And
question.
never point it at anything that you don't. Sorry, this is horrible. I do not own a gun.
Yep. I have a question, and it's very silly, so you have to answer it, and you don't get to explain it, and it's from the Wizard Salacious. What spell would make the most fuckable Tamori?
Oh, this is like a Vaporeon thing.
Ew, what?
What? What are you about to say about my favorite Pokemon, Vaporeon? What the fuck are you guys? Don't fucking one-slur me again.
Abria asked, do not one-slur us again, I swear to God.
Do not fucking one-slur us again.
I do actually know what you mean.
You can't make it a thing that if I just say things I liked from the early 2000s, you're going to start screaming at me that there's a small portion of the internet that wants to put things in those things' holes.
Yeah, this is
A
like,
small portion. It's not a small portion.
Not small.
It's not small.
but here's the thing is you can't fault Lou for this moment because I swear to God, every time we do this fucking podcast, it's like, so the question we got is like, who's the most buxom, like BBW, and someone's like, oh, this is the thing about Yertle the Turtle, right? And I have to go, what? How did you connect the first thing?
We've done it. We've made them uncomfortable.
Don't fucking high five. Don't fucking
My gun
high-five.
high-fived Erica's gun.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's
Reka,
so good.
friend of the pod, Reka Shunker, when we were working on Slack at College Humor back in the day, had a reaction image, which was Yoshi with a really big butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you
She still
both,
posts.
you
She
are
still posts
so,
that.
Yeah, she posts it
On
on
Instagram,
all
for
the
no
time.
reason. She'll be like, "Happy Valentine's Day."
Yeah,
Here's Yoshi with a donk.
yeah.
Yoshi would have a cloaca,
Now,
though,
wait,
as we
is-
all know.
What?
Yeah, that's
Don't
true.
fucking do this to Yoshi. All right?
Now wait, why did
Wow.
you say Vaporeon when?
Yeah.
Why
No,
did
because
you?
Vaporeon's like
The
okay,
most-
whatever. We're gonna make it really nice for
Vaporeon
these
is
guys.
the what?
It's the like
most
mermaid.
what?
You know how like mermaids, you're like, oh, if I'm a sailor, I would see a
How
mermaid.
do
I
you
would
do
make
it?
sweet love to a mermaid. A Vaporeon is a mermaid of Pokemon.
Was
that a neutral way to put
Well,
that?
it's
There's
supposedly
gotta be more fuckable Pokemon.
Okay,
out
well,
there.
but here's the thing: is that
Bellsprout, without a doubt, right?
but
Bellsprout
again, it
is
depends.
mostly mouth.
So, but here's the thing: is that Vaporeon?
I thought
can
about
do
this
anything,
so
Matt.
much. Okay. Bellsprout and its many forms, obviously.
Here's the thing, though: is that Bellsprout is a small Pokemon. You're looking for a Weepin' Bell, probably depending on your size.
A Bellsprout is approximately fleshlight sized. I think the point stands.
Yeah.
What's the most?
I hate that we're here.
What's the most? I feel like I'm just
Vaporeon.
racking my brain for the most human Pokemon, and I keep coming back to Mr. Mime.
Well, it's not.
And
Okay,
that's
listen.
scary.
This would be.
That's just too. The idea that it's like
oh, come on, Mr. Mime could jerk you off.
Mr. Mime in candlelight is just like caressing its face.
So-
is it a he? I don't know.
It is Mr.
I'm not going to gender Mr. Mime. Aren't they all named Mr. Mime? Whether
Yeah,
that's
but
fair.
also.
That's right. You're a bad person. You're a bad
Listen,
person, and you're a bad person.
Specifically, the Mr. Mime that was with Ash's mom absolutely has been taking care of her
yeah, for
ever
sure.
since
How did
Giovanni
we? Is
probably.
this?
Okay.
So
But
if you
also,
join us by the
did it.
fireside,
You said,
can
how
get
did we do
all
this?
of
And you did this. You did it.
Bellsprout got Mr. Mime pregnant, and now join us over on AO3 for the fic about how that happened. Okay, but the question is, what spell would make the most fuckable to Mori?
Okay, I would say it depends on what you are into, because while people
Force
have
cage.
made. Oh, okay, yeah. That's it. Keep going.
Nailed it.
No. While people have made compelling arguments for Vaporeon as the Pokemon, what with the, hydration and it's about size and hydration and the acid armor. So it can be manhandled, I guess, and then also the different moves that it has.
You're dragging us back to the fucking Pokemon.
No,
thing.
but I'm saying yes, that's all well and good, but I don't want just buy a fleshlight, right?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Instead of fucking Vaporeon?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
My guy
I
also
agree with
respect
that.
to this.
Someone else say a spell.
I feel like it would also depend. Would it be like a
You're not allowed to explain.
charm?
You're not allowed to explain. You
Okay.
just have to decide.
Entangle?
Cloud of
Nice.
daggers.
Nice. Brennan, bring us home.
All about the mangles.
Power word kill.
But level.
The French call it le petit mort.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I actually, maybe.
Are you looking at a spell list?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I'm
It's
looking
not
at the
fair.
SRD, baby.
That's not fair.
I'm looking at the SRD.
I had to do that from my heart.
Power word kill and true resurrection. Maybe wish.
I mean, wish feels like the
this is just
easy, obvious one, and true
Yeah.
resurrection, that's really just handling a refractory period problem. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lemon's tiny hut.
Ooh, I like that one.
Okay. Wait, Mage Hand. Mage Hand.
That's Mr.
That's
Callum.
Mr. Callum.
You want to fuck Mr. Callum?
I would absolutely
let me be
fuck
clear.
Mr.
Would.
Callum.
Let me be so clear. Would and you get baked goods after? Are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?
Just sitting
Wait,
in bed, covered in croissant flakes.
Yes.
Hold on. Lore question. We're doing stuff for the game. Has anyone ever tried to have a relationship with a Mr. Callum in the Citadel?
There are parts of the world building that need to remain in the Pandora's box of what remains unseen and unsaid.
No, I want to know.
Well, we're about to do the world building talkback, so we'll make him answer it on that.
Yeah. Hey,
So
everyone.
join us by the fireside if you want to know if anyone's tried to date Mr. Callum.
Hey, wizard Slappy, I gotta talk to you. We, you know that we installed a recording stone in the bakery, right?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Ah, the wizard surveillance state really put one over on us again.
Panopticon.
Taylor, where are we at time-wise?
Amazing.
Call it, yeah, great.
Okay. Well,
we
on
did none
that,
of the things.
on
We did plenty of the things, and also Vaporeon.
No!
well, if you are looking for more of this kind of deep, important discussion, please join us over at the Fireside. For just $5 a month on our Patreon, you get access to this and other bits, such as maybe Brennan had a child. Also, the witch class. The witch class, yes. Which is speaking of mechanics and world building and social spells, I wanted something that this specific physics engine did not have, which was a little witch. And Brennan and Maisie, Maisie
Vasilak.
Vasilak.
Maisie Vasilak.
Yeah, Brenda Stoddard. All
The team on the Witchcraft, we had Brenda Stoddard, Maisie Vasilak, Hannah Rose, with art by Tucker Donovan, and we had art Tucker Donovan, and of course the Ame portrait by Lorena Lammer, and the graphic design by Ruby Lavin.
Yeah, it's
And
really
also Brennan,
something
because Brennan never
special.
says himself.
Yeah.
Says himself. He's on the team too.
Yeah,
You're on the team.
I helped.
Yeah. So, truly, thank you so much to everybody for listening to this and for joining us here by our wide open campfire fireside. Fireside. Oh.
Oh.
I'm Erika Ishii, and I'm here with Aabria Iyengar.
Hoo, crackle, crackle. Hey, Dandelion. The gift for Ame was tea. See, we got Ame some tea for when she woke up.
Brennan Lee Mulligan.
A hoo-hoo, crackle, crackle, and I guess Mr. Mime.
And the elusive Lou Wilson.
A hoo-hoo, crackle, crackle. I'm never bringing up anything that existed between the year 2000 and the year 2009, I feel. I feel like after 2010, we're safe. But 2000 to 2009 just feels like a minefield at this point.
Ask us about our Sonic OCs.
The ops are fraught,
The
and Knuckles
odds
is black.
are fraught.
Neck if you buck. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see you next time here on the Fireside.
Vaporeon, really discussions have been. It also has 4 legs, which makes me feel weird about it.
Yep, correct.
Well, I think
I mean, that is a cat.